to accept the job elsewhere next year. I'm going to finish what we started. We're going to dominate. I'm going to be here to that end and that conclusion. And then when that conclusion, we will move on.
After spending 3 years building up the Jackson State football program and by proxy, Jackson State University, Deion Sanders has decided to move on to greener pastures, to the University of Colorado, becoming the first black coach to move on from an HBCU to a Power 5 conference team.
My man.
In the process, earning a 20-fold increase in salary. He went from making $300,000 a year to approximately $6 million. Now, before I get started, I want to give a shout out to Brother O'Shea Duke Jackson. Some of the points that I'm going to bring up in this video, he's already highlighted in 2 others. So I'm going to reiterate his points as well as add in a couple of additional points. So yeah, black folks are mad at Deion for leveling up, but they've labeled him a traitor and a sellout. All over social media, you will find people leaving nasty comments, questioning his character, integrity, race loyalty, and overall intent. They're acting like he stole something because he sought out a better opportunity for himself, his family, and his staff. But what I'd like to know is, why can't they acknowledge the good that he's done, instead of chastising him for leaving? Jackson State's football program was dead, non-existent. Nobody cared or was talking about it. Coach Sanders brought them to a place of prominence. He gave up half of his salary to improve their facilities, brought in 4- and 5-star recruits, which led to them getting broadcast deals on television, generated $185 million in revenue for the university, again while taking a pay cut. And he also applied pressure to NFL scouts to come and watch their pro day for all of those players that were moving on to the NFL. He even mowed the lawn of their practice facility. So while the federal government was reneging on a promise that they made to increase funding to HBCUs, Deion Sanders was bringing in alternative sources of revenue. He took nothing, gave everything he could, and made good on a promise that the government didn't keep. But still, that wasn't enough. And the thing that bothers me most about all the hate he's receiving is that Deion didn't have to do any of this. He was living the sweet life as a retired NFL player. He was living off of his investments, endorsements, and NFL pension money, working part-time as an analyst for the NFL Network, while volunteering as a coach for his son's high school football team. He was living a stress-free life. And again, he didn't have to do any of it, because Deion Sanders went to Florida State. He's not a Jackson State University or HBCU alumni. He has no moral obligation to them. So how, in the midst of all of his sacrifice, did the good people of Jackson, Mississippi and Jackson State University repay him? Well, they broke into his office. They broke into his son's car. He got minimal financial support from the alumni. Remember, he had to give up half his salary to improve the facilities, which is unheard of in college sports. You'd never hear a major university asking their coach for help, but I'll come back to that in a minute. And they didn't show up to the games. But the thing that bothers me the most is that Colorado signed Deion Sanders to a 5-year, $30 million deal. And they didn't even have the money to do it. But they did it anyway because they're confident they'll get the money to pay him. Because unlike HBCUs, the alumni at these major universities, they give back. Anytime the school is in need, all the president of the university has to do is give a speech, and they'll pay the money. The exact same thing happened at Michigan State. When their head coach, Mel Tucker, was up for a contract extension, the university didn't have the money. It was 2 boosters that went out, raised the funds, and they gave him $95 million to retain him at Michigan State. Now, how come Jackson State couldn't do that? How come the alumni couldn't raise the money? Because what you see going on at Colorado and Michigan State, where they don't have the money to pay their coaches but find a way to pay them anyhow, that is quite common at major universities. And it's not like Deion was asking for $95 million like Mel Tucker. He's asking for $30. He's asking for a third of the price. And still, they didn't bother. But unfortunately, that's a common theme when you're dealing in our community. People always want you to make sacrifices, to stay down with the struggle. It's all about what you have to do for them to prove your blackness.
The thing that alarms me the most is just because I'm leaving Jackson, they think that I'm leaving African Americans. I don't know if you noticed or not, but I'm black.
And it doesn't matter what you've done in the past. You always have to do more while they do nothing. Like I said earlier, They don't want to acknowledge all the good things that he's done for them over the past 3 years. They skip over the undefeated season, the TV exposure, the $200 million revenue while taking a pay cut. Black folks just expect you to keep doing a thankless job for an indefinite amount of time. And that brings me to the subject matter of the video. This is why prominent black men don't like to give back, because what you give is never enough. Black people are the only people that expect you to do for them while they do nothing for themselves. To reiterate what I said earlier, everything that Deion did for them, they didn't or could not do for themselves. And as for my last point, to all the haters that thought Deion should have stayed at Jackson State University, how many of you all have actually graduated or at least attended an HBCU? As for me personally, I attended Morris Brown College before transferring, so I know what it's like. I had an amazing experience there, one that I will forever cherish. But I'm also aware of the complications that come with attending an HBCU. And how many of you Deion Sanders critics live in the hood? You know, where the dangerous crime happens, because that's where Jackson State is located. You know, a dead body was found there recently on campus while Deion was coaching there. And you also have to remember, it wasn't just him who moved to Jackson, Mississippi. He brought his wife and his 3 kids with him. And as for my third question, how many of you have or would reject a substantial increase in pay to stay with a black-owned company? A black-owned company in a dangerous neighborhood. A black-owned company in a dangerous neighborhood where your work was not respected, similar to the way that Brother Deion's work wasn't respected, because that's what you're asking him to do by staying at Jackson State. Consider all of those before labeling him a sellout. But layman, didn't you oppose Deion Sanders going to Colorado initially yourself? Yes, I did, but only because I thought there was an opportunity for a better offer. I thought Auburn would come knocking, and maybe in a couple of years, Texas or Texas A&M would show interest. And I'm still not certain that Colorado is the best offer he could have gotten, but it was the only offer that was available. And what they were promising him was far better than what Jackson State was. So I don't begrudge the man for moving on. He's doing what's best for his career, he's doing what's best for his family, but more importantly, he left Jackson State in better condition than what he found it. So I wish the brother well in all of his endeavors. I hope he succeeds at Colorado. So if you like this video, please give it a like and leave a comment in the comments section and share the link on your social media platforms. And if you are new to my channel, please subscribe and turn on that notification bell. That way you'll get alerts every time I upload new content. This is the Layman's Journal. Thanks for stopping by. I'm out. Congratulations on making it to the end of my video. Please feel free to check out my channel. I may have some other content there you may enjoy. Here's one of my favorites. I'm trying to compare what Ben Watson did to that, and I completely disagree with that. Because Ben Watson is not some ignorant thug incapable of understanding a joke. And comparing what might have happened between Ben Watson and Peter Burns with what did happen between Will Smith and Chris Rock is complete nonsense. First of all, Ben Watson maintained his composure as a man. He didn't give in to his emotions like Will Smith, because Watson, being the stand-up man that he is, remembered the fact that he shares the reflective image of all black men in this country. So for our sake, he didn't act a fool on camera. Kudos to Ben for showing self-control. But as a man, he remembers that he has a job to maintain. Ben is a father of 7, okay? And he wasn't going to allow this idiot to prevent him from providing for his family. So whatever happened, it was wisely handled off camera. And as for Mrs. Watson, his wife, she hasn't been the constant embarrassment that Jada Pinkett Smith has been. She hasn't cheated on her husband. She hasn't gone around telling people that she didn't want to marry him. She hasn't complained about